So I've had a lot of problems in my 20s, right? And I will say is that there's a lot of things in our life that we just cannot control, but there's one thing I want to talk about is please do not ignore your problems. When I was living at home with my parents back in the day during my childhood, I used to have this problem where I'd used to procrastinate on everything, and it was really bad to the point where I could not manage my time very well. For a very long time, I did not understand why I could not get anything really done for some reason. I remember I would procrastinate on homework, I would procrastinate on chores, and put off every little thing. Now, as a kid, everything seems pretty small, but as an adult, when it comes to real life problems, it actually really affects you negatively in a really bad way. When I was in my early 20s and I first moved out, right, I actually was living just fine until I realized that I had some severe responsibilities or problems like, go get your car, get the DMV license plates renewed or anything like that. I remember I was like, I do not want to be like that. But the first couple of weeks, it wasn't a bit of an adjustment because I remember procrastinating on responsible things like getting your fucking tags. I will say, do not ever do this, but when I was younger, I got pulled over for illegal tags because they would not pull me over for something that small because I was procrastinating so bad on it. It was also a weird time during COVID and whatnot, and I will say, this was when the DMVs were closed, but I could still get my property taxes waived and paid off, right? The horrible part was I put that off and I would just drive to work on the highway because I was living in a small town with my buddy. And it kind of backfired on me because one day I randomly got pulled over by a small town cop because some of these cops don't give a shit, They see something they don't like, they'll get you for it in these smaller towns. So I got pulled over and ended up getting a fucked up ticket, but you know what? I wasn't fully in the right either. Yeah, the DMVs and everything were closed, but I didn't pay off my property taxes, and it kind of taught me a lesson really quickly about moving out that, yeah, life does not stop for anybody, so do not ever procrastinate on any important things like that. Another big one that a lot of people procrastinate on, and some of my friends did this, was fucking holding off on paying your taxes. Man, that's a very important one because I like free money at the end of the year. I wouldn't say it's free money exactly, but you know what I mean, right? Everyone wants that extra source of income of work and money that they've earned, throughout working. So yeah, I learned pretty quickly on how to file my taxes, but bro, there's some people that just put that shit off and it kind of drives me up the wall. It's like, man, you're literally hurting yourself without getting some extra money that you worked for, man. I used to have a friend that literally would put off paying his taxes so bad that this person tried to file his taxes 3 years late and he wondered why he got penalized so much and everything. It was such funny irony, man. It's like, don't ever procrastinate on shit like that or ignore your real life problems because if you have a problem with stuff like this, dude, it's just not going to get easier. The good thing is, though, I learned very slowly that you got to manage your time a bit easier, too, when it comes to just life. Because, the better you manage your time, the better off you'll be in the future for other things to work around every little thing that you want. So I remember I started questioning myself, how can I get better with this and what can I do? So what I do was, even if it made me uncomfortable, just force yourself to do something that made you uncomfortable or you don't want to do it. And it'll feel weird at first, but trust me, over time it builds really good habits. It's good to build healthy habits because you just never know what could really happen in your childhood that could affect your adulthood. So over time, it took about maybe 5 to 6 months of just constantly just doing things on the fly, It's good to do important things on the fly that you really need to do and prioritize your shit. Because if you don't put high priorities in life or do whatever you want, yeah, it really does make your fucking life miserable too. And no one likes that. Another thing that really did help me a lot was I set reminders on my phone or wrote down sticky notes just in case, because when I was younger, I was so damn forgetful it wasn't even funny. It was really bad as a kid. I remember forgetting my homework all the time to the point where I would always have to stay an extra hour after school. And eventually I got really tired of it, but for some odd reason, dude, it took me a long time to learn. It was like the repetition of punishment that made me kind of burnt out and tired, where I decided to finally say F it, and I started finally bringing my homework on time, and it made a huge difference. It was definitely an interesting little school life lesson that I learned, because nowadays, schools like that are not usually strict anymore, because this was in a smaller town, and they were very strict on kids to the point for them to help and learn. But nowadays, it just doesn't seem to be that way anymore. The good thing is now, when it comes to procrastination, it's really good now, because another thing I used to procrastinate really hard on too was my YouTube channel in general when I was younger. I always wanted to be a dreamer instead of a doer, and it was actually also affecting me. But nowadays, man, being a doer when it comes to my YouTube is fucking awesome. It's really fun, and just to be able to come on here and just talk about everything I want to talk about, dude. It's really cool, you know. I enjoy this a lot when it comes to making a passion come to life. I used to be very hard on myself too, because sometimes if you truly want to change with your horrible habits or to fix your problems, you're going to have to be a little hard on yourself a little bit in order for you to get that change. Because I remember telling myself stuff too, like, if I don't do this YouTube channel, I might be wasting my life and be a failure. Like, fuck. I remember when I was only 18 years old when I started like doing YouTube videos more seriously, that I thought I was too old to be starting YouTube the way I did. But in reality, I was actually pretty young, just getting a head start and learning on how everything works. What makes life a little bit easier too is that if you do challenge yourself and push yourself to the limit that you can when it comes to either working a lot of hours or putting in a lot of time for something that you really care about, it really can change your life for the better. It's not always easy, unfortunately, but it will definitely make your life easier over time in the long run. It just really depends how much you're willing to put yourself through. Like, I do understand why being tired sucks all the time. I get it. Being tired from working too hard does suck when you're working crazy hours to get a better future. But as long as you're not doing it for your whole life, like do it short term, it really isn't that bad. It just really depends on the situation. I know people that struggle through burnout working 80 hours a week through a really good pay just so they could have a better future. It is sad that people have to go through that, but that's just sometimes the only way they know. Other ways too that people do go through is constantly making different types of content, or they're just studying really hard for a test. It just really depends on what you're doing in your life and where you're at. I know some people that worked 80 hours of consistent overtime every fucking week just so they could get ahead and actually do well. Or some people will also study a test in college really hard just to be able to finally get that degree and get a decent paying starting job. Now, the craziest thing with that is some people do this just to only get like $60,000 a year starting on a lot of salaries and jobs, but you know what? It still is better than the minimum wage. I know inflation's bad, but bro, like, it's actually crazy the type of dedication some people go through for some type of just crazy rewards. Another life problem that I am definitely trying really hard to fix is financial status and situation too. Like, being stable would really help a lot. Like, I don't really care about being like super rich, but I definitely just want enough money to be comfortable and be able to have the type of freedom where I could just do whatever I want whenever I want. You know, it would be really nice. I know it's really rare for this to even happen, but I will say with enough discipline and effort, it is possible, but it just may take a long time. If you're struggling to study something or at least learn something that involves like, you know, risks or something like that, take your time with it and also do it very strategically and carefully too. Like for me, I'm learning how to invest a little bit. Unfortunately, haven't been able to save enough to invest enough, but I will say I did finally put some money in a while back, and I am slowly learning how it works. Some days are really good, and some days it's not so good. It just really depends. But the better you learn on how it works through experience, it'll definitely like be a good feeling when that thing finally takes off the way you want it to. And that's why it's very important to always fucking put any effort into things you want to do in just anything that you need to. I do acknowledge that there are times where you cannot control every little thing that's happened in your life. Like the best example I could think of is losing a family member and trying to cope without life without them or something, or losing a loved one or partner, or you know, your apartment not working properly because the landlord's bad and they're trying not to fix anything. Sometimes that happens too. It just really depends on the circumstance, but it is really sad when this happens. But you just cannot let it defeat you and dwell on it. There's most things that can be fixed, usually will be fixed with just a lot of trial, effort, and just a lot of help sometimes. Anyways, everybody, thank you all so much for listening. I'm currently playing Call of Duty Zombies on my laptop. If you see the footage, I did get some footage finally going on. I actually found a way to record on here with my laptop, so I'm pretty happy. My apartment situation's not doing so great right now. Like, right now I'm trying to get things figured out with it by calling maintenance and stuff. They're still ignoring everything, but we're definitely trying to figure out a solution because I'm stuck on this lease. But I am definitely looking forward to getting this shit done. So then I could actually, you know, fucking make videos properly and get on my main computer. I do appreciate everyone that's listened to my videos or watched me through thick and thin for the last couple uploads too. I'm really happy all those videos done really well, and thank you all so much for the love and support. And in case you guys are wondering, it is like Call of Duty World at War Zombies, because there's a lot of people asking about that too. Until further ado, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.